Alder Lake, we're releasing all of the desktop processors. Later this quarter, we'll release the mobile processor family built on one overall portfolio of products. It's based on this idea of having both high performance and power efficient cores, but also multi-tile. Right, and the ability to have one product design covering all the different segments of desktop and mobile. So a very powerful capability as we go to what's called a disaggregated design. And the benchmarks, superb.
That's what I wanted to get to. What should we expect to see on power efficiency with Alder Lake?
The power efficiency, we'll be giving those later this quarter, most of it when we bring the mobile parts out. Right, desktop, this is all about the geeks, and we'll be setting some new records, we hope, with overclocking, the best ever performance and gaming benchmarks that have been put forward. From our product, AMD's products, Apple's, anybody, we are blowing them away when we bring out our high-end gaming capabilities. And we also see with the efficient cores that we have this wonderful ability to balance between performance, it's like hitting the turbo mode on your car, versus we're in EV mode, right? All of the things, and I want to have minimize the power requirements, maximize battery life, and those capabilities as well are going to be very solid over the Alder Lake product line. So this is a very impressive product, and all of it being done on Intel 7. Right, and a couple of years ago, wow, we couldn't get our manufacturing machine running right. Now Intel 10 is running great. Intel 7 ramping in production right now. Intel 4 looking healthy, so the process machine, right, is coming back to life very well, even a bit ahead of my let's say my audacious expectations. My team's a little bit ahead of those. Okay. And obviously the proof point with Alder Lake and the launch is absolutely just a compelling way to begin innovation.
What is the role of software at Intel in this era, and how are you going to drive it differently than it has been driven in the past?
Yeah, and many aspects to this question, John. And as I think about it, why did God have me outside of Intel for 11 years, running a software company for 8 years? And I think a lot of it was to prepare me to answer that question. Because, it really is, and, a hardware silicon company like Intel, we sort of think of software often as the afterthought. Well, the reality is it needs to be the forethought. Right, because the developers develop the software interfaces. The software needs to come first, and then the silicon needs to fit underneath those software interfaces and make it better. And that's why we brought Greg onto the team, my CTO at VMware, to come across and help to build that software mindset, software first, silicon enhanced at Intel. We have 15,000 software developers. I have more software developers now than I had at VMware, a software company, but we haven't brought them together effectively. And the idea here is that there's an extraordinary amount of innovation happening in areas like AI and machine learning, and largely through open source. Well, our business model is a perfect complement for the open source environment. So huge statements of our new offerings. We're bringing together, almost 800 new features that we're releasing with one API. So a huge amount of assets, and we're really recommitting ourselves to saying, developers, we are back, and you can trust us. We're going to be open, right, and we're going to give you choice, the core things that they're looking for their innovation partner of the future.
If you want to have the leading edge technology and the equipment from ASML and whatnot, you've got to be able to have scale. And if you're going to have scale in the future, you can't just be building your own designs. You've got to have foundries. But if you're going to have foundries, you got to have leading edge process technology that Intel has fallen behind on. So you got to do these 5 process nodes in 4 years. And you've got to do graphics processors. And you've got to do, I mean, is that how you looked at it? That you have to do all these interlocking things within a 5-year period?
As we said, we must get back to process leadership. And, our process teams, they kept innovating, even though the manufacturing teams weren't successfully bringing them to manufacturing scale. So we had, a rich trove of ideas, of innovations sitting here ready to move forward. So as I looked at that, it's like, we got some pretty cool stuff ready to go. I just got to unleash that, essentially congestion that we had in our innovation machine. So we essentially doubled up. We said, we used to run one team, right, for integration. We're now running 2. And they're going to go twice as fast as a result. Not any one of them faster, but together, right, in harmony. It's much more like TikTok process technology.
But TikTok was one process technology every 2 years.
But it was 2 parallel teams in design. right? And that's essentially what we're creating in our TD engine, two parallel teams that are operating. So the Intel 4.3 team, sort of the TOC team, and the Intel 20A and 18A team is sort of the TIC team, right, as they're each working in parallel on the process technologies. I needed to fund them. So we put more capital in place, gave them the R&D capacities. And what we've now laid out, and if you think about this, John, there are four major things that we're going to be able to do. One is we are releasing the most innovative new transistor structure, ribbon FET, that's been done in over a decade. We're going to do it again.